This week was all about the details, and I'm excited to get into the details of this episode with you because not only did the scoreboard change and now everybody has an appropriate placement, but I only have to cover one episode, so I get to break down every single tattoo with all of you. So I'm pretty excited about that. Let's do some shop talk. Episode 3 was titled Devils in the Details, and boy was it. And as I said, it greatly impacted the scoreboard. So let's find out how we got there. So we open with a flash challenge where the contestants are told they are being tested on detail. And for the flash challenge, they have to create an illusion on a model with ultraviolet paint to make the human body disappear when a black light is turned on. And they're going to be working in teams of 2. So the skulls have numbers on the bottom, and that's what's going to determine what the teams are with matching numbers. Jihan, as the winner of last week's challenge, gets to assign the flash challenge skulls. He's picking teams. Creepy Jason makes a comment that he thinks Jihan believes he has a strategy, but really he doesn't really know what he's doing. And I partially agree with that. I think Jihan actually has a very strong strategy, and it's paying off quite a bit, but there are some holes in it. Regardless, though, he has a very solid strategy. Even for this flash challenge, he decides to split up his alliance actually across the teams to increase their chance of winning skull picks for the main challenge, and I think that's incredibly smart. Katie is hoping that she and Holly also get split up, as they're the only 2 people left in their alliance because Deanna was sent home last episode, all in hopes of recruiting more people to their alliance and rebuilding. But Jihan assigns the teams as follows. So team 1 is Jihan and Bob. Team 2 is Angel and Pawn. And I find it very interesting because Pawn doesn't seem to really trust Angel. I think that's fascinating. Team 3 is Hiram and Jason. And team 4 is Holly and Katie. Jihan made sure to keep them together so they don't do the same thing he's trying to do. I think that's hilarious. I did find it interesting that Angel is actually very scared of Holly and Katie's alliance. She's not ruling them out. She thinks they're very strong and could still be strong working together, especially if they end up with skull picks for the main challenge. Interesting. But a twist, as is typical in Ink Master. Each team actually has to do 2 models to make 1 illusion. It's a big project in a very small amount of time. That's the game. Right out the gate, for the most part, everybody hits the ground running because they only have so much time, and they're all doing fairly well. But Angel and Pawn really struggling to work together. They don't have ideas. There isn't like a strong leader between the 2 of them, so Angel has to really take the reins on it just to get something moving. And they eventually find their groove, but it takes a while to get there. Where Jihan and Bob are kind of having a battle of the titans. They're still working really well together, but you can tell there's tension because they both have very strong opinions about what needs to be done. But the only thing that matters is how it all looks when the black light is turned on. So when they all finish and we all get to take a look at their finished products, I gotta say everybody did pretty well. First up was Holly and Katie, who did a Phoenix Rising, and it was pretty good. It had a lot of movement. They stacked their models on top of each other, which was pretty cool, so it had height, and they got pretty good critiques. Angel and Pawn did a 3D Tiger, which had perspective, it had depth, it had dimension, it looked like it was prowling. They had the snout on the head, so it looked like it was actually protruding. Oh, it was so good. Hiram and Jason did an octopus, which looked really cool, and the judges thought it was really great. This was my least favorite, to be honest with you, because the human form was supposed to disappear, and I felt like this is the one I could see the humans most in. But I guess the judges did not agree. Jihan and Bob do an alligator, and this was mind-blowingly good. I thought it was great, and so did the judges. They were pretty impressed with it, and rightfully so. It was really good work. Ultimately, all 4 teams did all right, but here's how the voting went down. Joel, for some reason, really likes this octopus. I disagree. but he is really into it. So he votes for Hiram and Jason. Nico votes for Bob and Gian. I can't really be too mad at that. Ryan votes for Angel and Pon, and I definitely agree with that as well. I thought that was really great. Ami also votes for Bob and Gian. I can't be upset about that. I gotta say, not a single vote was given to Holly and Katie. I feel like at least Joel's should have gone to Holly and Katie, because I at least felt like theirs was stronger than that octopus. Their figures at least disappeared. I got more out of that than I did the octopus. I also gotta say, between the top two groups, I would give it to Angel and Pon. That tiger, to me, I can't get over it. It was so good. But Bob and Gian win the Flash Challenge, and I can't really say that that's a bad choice. They did really well. And it's Gian's second Flash Challenge win. Oh boy. And Katie is visibly concerned about it. As she should be, I think. So directly after, Team Gian has an alliance meeting, and they're patting themselves on the back for their Flash Challenge and the strategy that went through it. They're telling Gian he's like the master of picking skulls. We're going to talk about that later. I find it interesting, though, that they seem to think nobody else is onto them in their alliance. But I think everybody knows that the whole group isn't an alliance. No, they're not hiding it that well from anyone. But it's clear that they don't trust each other completely. And Angel especially, and Pon, I think, are ready to start slashing the rest of the group. They're just waiting for the alliance to serve its purpose, and then they're going to turn on each other, which I think everybody is kind of waiting for that. But I'm just curious as to what the strategy is, because honestly, I don't know, Gian. If I were Gian, I would probably be working Katie and Holly and some of these other people that I think are actually a little bit weaker into the alliance, because then once all the other people are weeded out, it's easier to destroy them when you need to. Maybe I'm just more vindictive that way. I don't know. Either way, this alliance is bound to crumble, and it's going to happen pretty soon. We're already running out of contestants before it's just them left. So, anyway, it's time for the elimination tattoo, and this week they get told they're doing pinups, which I think is great. The details are super important, but pinups, as many people pointed out on this episode, tend to not go always so well on Ink Master. Just as everybody's doing okay with it, of course, Master of Chaos Dave Navarro shows up to deliver some extra news. Not only are they doing pinups, but they're doing pinups of animals, which means that the details are extra important because you need it to be believable. And I think that's awesome. And this is a side note. I feel like Joel's doing okay hosting. He's not bad by any means, but man, I miss Dave Navarro. Even through a TV screen, Dave Navarro's energy and his presence is just impeccable, and his sense of style. I really miss that coming from a host. Joel, at this point, he just kind of feels like one of the judges, which he is, but he doesn't really bring that host commanding energy that Dave brought every single time. And I've been avoiding saying that because I want to give Joel a chance. And again, I think he's doing fine. But man, every time Dave shows up as the Master of Chaos, it just reminds me of how good he was hosting this show. And it makes me miss him a lot. I mean, look how Dave looks. He looks fantastic. And then Joel's there in his hoodie, you know, and if that's Joel's style, that's fine. But there's just like an extra layer of flair and charisma that Dave brings, which I think made him such a great host. And I miss it. So then Gian and Bob, as the Flash Challenge winners, assign all of the canvases. And I'm going to break down all of the canvases right now and what they wanted and who they were assigned to. And Gian and Bob really, again, trying to be cutthroat and strategic about it, saving their alliance, but also trying to slash and burn people like Jason and Katie and Holly. But I don't know if that really pays off this time. So the first canvas is a American traditional pinup of a llama with a pina colada. I love that. And Gian takes it for himself. Next is a neo-traditional gecko pinup with sunglasses, and they give that to Hiram. Then a new school pig pinup with a pearl necklace, and they give that to Katie. This person wanted it on the ribs, so they were trying to sabotage Katie a bit, but Katie was actually pretty excited to get this one. Then this was hilarious because The next one is a neo-traditional capybara pinup, dipping its foot into a hot spring. And they give it to Holly, not realizing that she's already tattooed a capybara. Did she tattoo it well? I don't know. But she's already tattooed one in the competition, and there's a huge photo of it just behind them. Next is a realistic elephant pinup holding a barbell with 2 baby elephants with it, and they give that to Jason, who he knew was coming because it was one he was not going to want to do, and it's not really in his wheelhouse. Then it's a colorful neo-traditional giraffe pinup in a seductive pose wearing lingerie, and Bob takes that for himself. This one was wild, and I loved it, but it's a colorful illustrative pinup of a cow with the skirt being held up, spilling milk onto a barbecue grill. What? And they give that to Pawn. And lastly, there's a new school doe with the Marilyn Monroe dress blowing up, and they give that to Angel. Should be pretty easy. So when they're meeting with their canvases, Jason and Katie, the 2 people the Gian Alliances were gunning for, decide to really be honest and open with their canvases. And Jason mentions very openly that this is how the game works, and he got that tattoo because he can't do that tattoo, and it's not going to look great, and gets his canvas to be on board with doing it more in his style. And she is totally fine with that. And Katie, same thing, manages to talk her canvas out of at least taking it off the ribs and doing it somewhere a little more easier to work with and more appealing and easier to sit for. And it completely works in their favor. And immediately when watching it, I was like, I don't think this is going to go the way Gian and Bob thought it was going to go. I will say, though, all of the stencils, when they were laying them out, looked amazing. I was so excited for this because I thought all of the tattoos were going to turn out great. And I will say, for the most part, they do. I had a really good time watching this whole process. I love, though, that Gian's canvas clearly watches Ink Master and knows what's up. Immediately, he's like, oh, you gave Katie the one with the ribs. Like, you're gunning for her, right? Gian has no problem admitting it. I did get very nervous for Bob, though, because it was obvious his canvas was not sitting well. Oops. The judges' walkthrough, though, was also very telling because Holly gets dragged immediately when they look at what she's tattooing with that capybara. And it also wasn't looking good for Hiram either. They were not into what he was doing while he was working on it. I was like, wow, this is going to be an interesting critiquing session. And I was not disappointed. So let's get to these tattoos. Yes. So first up is Bob's, and he got really good critiques. And I agree, it's a total knockout. Hans was next, and I think it really worked out for him too. It was really good. That was the one tattoo where I was like, I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but it was delightful. Good job, Han. Katie also got really great critiques. It was pretty safe critiques. I think it was clear she was not in the top 3, but I don't think she had anything to worry about, and that showed, and you could tell. Jason got great critiques, and the details in it and the textures, oh, he absolutely crushed this tattoo. And the judges agreed. They were raving about it. I think it was clear that Jason, Pon, and Bob were the top 3 for sure. One of those tattoos was taking home tattoo of the day. Gian's was a bit of a womp womp situation. He got not great critiques, but he also didn't really get bad critiques. He's definitely safe like Katie, you could tell, but it was not his week. He's not as strong this week as he was last week, for example. Angel got kind of lower, more negative critiques. Not terrible. And I liked her tattoo. I thought it was really cute. But once they did point out the details, which to be fair is what we're critiquing here, I did agree that there were some problems. Holly got really rough critiques for this capybara, and I agree. It's rough. Is it the worst tattoo in the world? No, of course not. But details, and even just from afar, I was like, oh, this is not nearly as appealing as a lot of the other ones. I would not wear this tattoo. No. And then there was Hiram, and uh-oh, just as we expected through the walkthrough, he also got really rough critiques, which it was expected. Him and Holly were going to get the roughest critiques, and here we are. Again, is it the worst tattoo ever? Is it a bad tattoo? I don't think so. But details, that's what we're critiquing, and I agree, some of these were rough. So again, top three were clearly Jason, Bob, and Pon. And I gotta say, I was surprised because they announced, without really giving any reasons or debating it amongst the others, that Bob gets tattoo of the day. And I can't be mad at it. It was a great tattoo. But if we're critiquing details, and that's the name of the game this week, I'm really surprised it didn't go to Creepy Jason. Not only were all his details there, but he was able to create textures and things. His details were out of the park compared to everybody else, and so on point. I 100% believe that it should have gone to Creepy Jason. That's just my opinion. I'm really surprised that they didn't do that. I don't know what the reasoning for that was. I disagree, but I can't be mad at Bob either. It was a great tattoo. You know, I think it was going to be one of them too, for sure. But yeah, here we are. So they go back while the judges, you know, kind of reset and get ready to announce the bottom three and do all of that. And Jason and Katie are on their high horses a little bit because Gion's plan totally backfired. But I think it's a risky move. I mean, Katie and Jason were obviously safe. And Jason, again, I think should have had top tattoo of the day. But I don't know. Katie, I think, was very middle ground, along with Gian. And Gion's also obviously safe. So to be firing at him when he's still fairly strong in the competition and has the strongest alliance, I don't know that I would be doing that. Conversely, Hiram and Angel are very nervous. They're two pieces of the Gian alliance, and they're both likely in the bottom. And that's very nerve-wracking for them and a very eye-opening experience. So when they're all brought back, we get some confirmations. So the bottom three are, in fact, Hiram, Holly, and Angel, which some people were surprised at, but I thought that was fairly obvious given the critiques. With the bottom two, obviously, and this is where the judges went, the bottom two being Hiram and Holly, those two being the ones that are clearly up for elimination. Angel was clearly the safe one out of the bottom three. Hiram really putting up a fight. Like, he was really trying to convince them he didn't deserve to go home. Ryan, as expected, votes for Holly to go home. And I would agree with that for all the reasons she gave. Everyone else, though, votes for Hiram to go home. And Hiram is eliminated. I disagree. Holly has been at the bottom the entire time in the competition, and this is the third tattoo style she's completely flubbed. I found it so odd that they chose to save her, and I really didn't expect them to. I really thought going into that Holly was going to be the one packing up her shop. So I don't know. I mean, Hiram's details were rough in that tattoo, but I don't know. I don't think he deserved to go home this early, personally. But that's where we left it. So before I get into the scoreboard, let's see how some fans reacted on Twitter. It's time for top tweets. Alrighty, so getting into the scoreboard, we finally have some differentiation. Nobody's tied for any placements. People now are finally settling into some ranks, and it's clear to see kind of how everybody's doing. Good stuff. So again, these are the point totals I give every week. This is how I determine everybody's final rankings. These are the stats I give them. For the most part, it ends up being fairly accurate, as I think we're going to see coming up. So this is what the scoreboard looked like last week when we left it. And now here's what's changed. So Gion's still in the top spot. He's still in first place. Bob moves to second place. Creepy Jason moves to third place. Pon's now in fourth place. Angel's now in fifth place. And Katie jumps to sixth place, which is not the comeback I think she was hoping for this episode, but it's decent enough. I think she's still got a way to go, though. And then Holly continues her plummet, and I can't believe she's still here, but she's dead last in seventh place. She's placed low and in the bottom every single episode so far. What? And now Hiram in eighth place with his elimination. Unbelievable. This is not how I thought it was going to go. But that's how things are shaking out right now. So we'll see how next week goes. Again, a lot of it depends on how good they do the day of and the challenge. So a lot of this could change completely. Sometimes it really changes, like with Hiram's elimination. Sometimes we really get surprised based on how things go. So it's still, for the most part, I think anybody's game, but Gian is still holding really strong, especially with his alliance. They're basically giving him the top spot, and I think that's odd, but it is what it is. But that's where we're at after episode 3 of the 14th season of Ink Master. So let me know in the comments below who you think is about to get the chop next, and who you think is going to get the title of Ink Master. Subscribe today so you can continue in the conversation with me every week. And in the meantime, get inked, and I'll see you next time when we get to do some more shop talk.